the visioning session was that there's never enough parking. That's actually not the case whatsoever. Cecil did a full study of the parking, and we actually have more than enough parking for all of the uses. And what they introduced us to was the concept of shared parking, and what that is based on is the idea that a lot of the businesses have peak demand hours, but that they don't typically peak at the same time. The church is typically busy on Sundays. Normal businesses are typically busy Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. Other businesses might be busier at night or in the morning. So the idea is, by implementing a shared parking model, spaces that are available for peak demand can be used for the peak demand of other businesses or other institutions in the area when it's off-peak for a particular business. So the church, if they were to buy into this plan, for example, their parking would be available to the bank or to people coming down if they want to park for a concert on a Thursday night, something along that line. So parking was a concern, but after an analysis, it's clear that there's more than enough parking, and it's really just changing in a few different ways the way we approach parking, both as residences but also the landowners and stakeholders. General pedestrian improvements. Right now, there's not a whole lot for the pedestrians to utilize other than some faded crosswalks. So generally improved crosswalks with enhanced signaling would be some simple and fairly quick improvements that we could implement at the early stages of the project. So hawk signals, for example, those are something that are visual to cars without them being on the side of the road, so you can actually see them from a distance, and it indicates that there is pedestrian activity ahead and it's time to slow down. Pedestrian lights in the crossing, decorative paving or enhanced enhanced crossings. Just something that visually stands out so that people know, especially drivers know that they're there, and to hopefully it will improve pedestrian safety and encourage people to cross the street in the town center. Wayfinding. So this basically is the signage in the town center that would point people to various things that they would need to come to town center and hopefully enjoy, explore, or business that they might have to attend. So systems of signs, we would have signs for pedestrians, automobiles, bicycles, with graphics that were consistent. And basically the idea is it would just direct people on where to go, where they can park, and then once they're parked, what's the quickest way to get to where they are. So if somebody needs to visit the church and drop off a donation and pay their taxes, they don't have to drive to each location and then maybe pick up some dinner at Skewers for the ride home. Hopefully, we would like to create an environment where they would park once. We would give them easy-to-follow wayfinding signage that would direct them to their locations and then safely back to their car so they can get home rather than drive and park 4 different times. And we feel that if we did this, not only would it improve the town center experience, but it's a little bit less traffic because now you don't have a car going through that light for, again, 4 different times. And these were just some examples from some very nice signages. The T one is a little plain, I guess, but there's obviously a lot of ways to create something that's visually interesting and communicate a lot of information, and it doesn't really require a whole lot of space or anything extraordinary. Just basically we don't have a lot of this signage. These were again some more examples of street lamps, parking. Again, just visual things that people can look for that will direct them towards where they want to go. If any of you drive in the city of Boston, if you see a blue P and you're in a hurry to get to your meeting, follow that P and get to that parking location as quick as possible. So we had a few, again, exploring all options, not really putting anything on or taking anything off the table. We contemplated the potential fates of the fire station and what that decision may be, whether it stays in place and gets renovated, or whether it gets relocated to another part of the same town center site, or if it moved out of town center altogether. So we asked Cecil to put together just 3 graphics showing what sort of opportunities we would have. So in this situation here, the fire station is not in the town center, or at least not within the current boundaries of the town center. And so you can see what we've done here is increased the green space, added a lot of park and walkway areas. Again, you can see the East Street closure in front of the church. And then you can see what potentially could be sort of a small retail office village to try and bring that area together and create a nice boundary and create a nice visual beacon that they could go to, so that when they're in the town center, we can offer them opportunities to enjoy different experiences from different businesses. In this situation, this would be, again, a fire station relocation, but utilizing nothing but green space and parks and walkways. And then this would be the town center if the fire station were to be rebuilt in place. But this would still, this particular graphic shows that we could still close Town Hall Ave if we wanted to expand some green space and increase the overall amount of area to work with in the town center, just based on land that the town currently owns. So basically, what we see with our plan is a series of short, mid, and long-term goals. One of the important things that I would like to note now, and for as long as the committee is here, we're going to say this repeatedly at every step of the way. This is not meant to be a sort of pick and choose set of building blocks where you can just pick out the red square and the blue circle and go with that. All of these different improvements operate on a different timeline and will affect different areas, but really we see that everything would need to happen over the life of this project, however long that may take, because if we don't, you never realize the full potential that the town center could offer to the residents. So we felt that it was important that while we show that we have a series of goals that we feel could easily be achieved within 2 years, it's not our idea that the best possible outcome would be to just do some things for 2 years and then say, wow, that's a really great town center, we did a lot, and walk away. We really want to just, I think it's the perfect term, is we really just want to get the ball rolling and start to do some things to create some interest in the town center that will, again, hopefully attract funding, allow us to start interacting with the state agencies that we would need to contact in order to do roadway improvements, hopefully get in touch with local businesses, try to encourage them to become part of the town center improvements, and basically show that they're part of this new revitalized area. So quickly here, the short term would be gateway improvements, common landscaping improvements. Again, that fire station is just, it's looming in every aspect of the project. Until we have a definitive answer on that, we will just continue to work with every possible outcome for the fire station. The midterm would be things that would involve MassDOT, and that would be things that would change signaling of the street lights, changing traffic lanes for dedicated turn lanes, things like that. And hopefully with doing those state level improvements, that will really open things up for us. And hopefully the residences and the businesses will see those improvements at the state level and then feel like there's a lot we can do as a town now that the state's come in and done their fair share to help us move this project forward. And then long-term ideas we have is expand redevelopment and economic development opportunities. So obviously we have to get through all of the midterm, improve the traffic situation. Hopefully by then the new fire station is up and running, and then we can develop things like the links to the rail trail, which would again be a great improvement for bicycling. We'd give them a nice destination to come to if they were biking. And then working on the overall center aesthetic down Main Street. So once we've developed that aesthetic and people have had time to acclimate to it and hopefully come to love it, we could expand that up and down the Route 38 corridor and link it to other buildings that are centerpieces and showpieces of our town, like the library and the senior center. So basically, with the short, mid, and long-term goals, we've done our homework. We have a series of action items, and basically that's really just I guess we would see that as our to-do list. All of the things that we need to work on and need to implement, and as you can see here, it lists all of the various people and agencies that would have to be involved with the improvements and actions that we want to take. So I'm not sure if we need to run through these. They're all in your printouts. So we have our near term. As you can see, our community development director is one of the centerpieces of moving a lot of this forward as the primary actor on many of these actions. So we're still in near term, midterm, and then into long term. Okay, any questions?
Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have a couple of
Mr.
questions.
Gay.
Yeah, I think this is a great idea. I've heard this since I've been in town. Tewksbury has no town center, and they have no walking area where people can walk around and look at shops like we do in a lot of other communities. In part of your plans, are there any plans to procure other properties or relocate other properties, or everything will remain the same per your plans? How does that work?
At this time, we have asked Cecil, and they have contacted a lot of the local landholders, stakeholders, and inquired about interest in whether or not those property owners would want to sell to the town. And to my knowledge, yes, there is interest that there would be properties available to the town if the town was interested in purchasing and expanding in the town center area.
So that would be, obviously that's part of your master plan to go forward, is to have some of the properties at least cleared or sold so you can use that common area as a...
That would probably be more of a long-term goal. It's not necessarily something that has to happen for us to get through the actions that we've outlined tonight. But I think that's something that if the economy stays well and the funds are there, I think that there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of good things that we could do and that the town could do if there was more property available for the town center.
That'll be an impediment as you go forward. I see that as one of the major impediments, to really make it to where it's cordoned off for an area people can actually walk around and look at things and have shops and have, like you said, maybe a multi-development where people can actually stop and enjoy themselves and spend the day looking around like you would downtown the Cape or something, that idea. So but I applaud you on your efforts. I think it's a great idea. I hopefully it comes to fruition someday. I know it's an ambitious long-term plan that will take a lot of time, effort, and money to do. So I really appreciate the work that this committee has done. So I think you're doing a great thing, going in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's it.
Mr. Gay, other commentary?
I do have a couple of commentaries. First of all, thank you and your committee for all of the work on it. I was at that lively few of your sessions.
Yes, you were.
And they were very lively, and it was great to see so many people involved, and I really appreciate you gathering the good as well as some negative comments as well. And I see that you've put some of those concerns in here, and I saw that in the plan that Cecil put together that you completed. I have a couple of questions regarding the how it relates to 38 in the changing of the lanes. Use the word intelligent. I'd like to say more thoughtful use of the lanes, and that is state property. How much control do we have over that? I see it's in the short term for the 2-year, and in the plan, it's looking like you're gonna do it in the 2-year. How feasible is that for us to accomplish? Because that seems like something we could do that would be very beneficial, but low cost. Have you spoken to anyone about that?
As I understand it, Cecil has been in contact with MassDOT and NCOG? How do you?
NIMCOG.
NIMCOG, right, NIMCOG. I just reading the acronym in my head.
That's okay.
And basically, the state is looking at Route 38 in Tewksbury, and really they're waiting for the town to take the first step and sort of just initiate the contact with what we'd like to see happen down there. So I think that the state seems to be a willing party. We've spent the time doing our work and our homework and putting together a reasonable idea of what's working and not working and where we'd like to see improvements. And so if the state is willing to cooperate and come to the table with us, I think that those improvements can happen in a reasonable amount of time.
And do we control the speed limit, or is that also out of our control? Not
I
sure.
can't say for sure, but they're the state agency. I think we make suggestions and they make decisions.
Okay. And then,
I would like to say, just in response to the speed limit in particular, that changing the lanes themselves will affect psychologically how people traverse. If the lanes are a little narrower and there's lanes that are side by side because there's turn lanes, people, I think, would be less likely to just go blazing through a green light at 40 miles an hour because now you're navigating your way through a narrower lane with other cars around you. So I think, again, if with more thoughtful lanes and lane widths and organization, that in and of itself would encourage people to drive slower and safer through the town center.
and have you thought about the signage and what the cost of that's going to be? Because some of that, I mean, looking at some of the proposals, that seems like similarly not huge cost, but could have dramatic impact. So I don't know if you have, I don't know where you guys have been with the funding piece of this. I mean,
Generally, we haven't gotten into any specifics when it comes to numbers. I mean, we don't have the ability to send out for any quotes or anything or accept any design proposals at this time. So what we've tried to do is just take our general knowledge that we have each brought from whether it's construction, beautification, or planning, and try to identify things that we feel would be lower cost. So things that would basically be low cost, short duration improvements that would have the best visual bang for our buck so that we could see some immediate revitalization and generate some excitement over the town center. But we don't have any specific numbers or quotes or anything like that to back it up. We're just going based on our combined experience.
and I'm assuming we're the first board that you've brought this to, so I know that Steve Johnson is here, but this hasn't, the planning board, other than his updates to the planning board, haven't been involved,
Not unless
right?
somebody hacked my email. I got that this morning.
I'm just curious. I was thinking we could have a giant scavenger hunt to create some interest. But I just want to say thank you for all your work. I know that you guys have been doing this for quite some time, so thank you, and I appreciate the efforts. And looks good.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Stronick. Anybody else have any questions?
Yeah, I have a couple of
Crafton?
comments. First, I love it in theory. I think it's something that would work wonderful. I'd love to see, now that the town hall has been renovated, it'd be nice to see this whole area, bring people back to the town hall. I can answer a couple of the questions that were brought up. The speed limits would be, 38 would be by the state. When you're doing traffic and you're changing speed out there, it impacts all the surrounding roads. So they would go by the 85 percentile of what the traffic flow goes through there. They do speed studies that go up and down 38. So changing the speed limit, it isn't like we're gonna be able to just say we're gonna lower the speed limit to 20 in the town center, because it would impact everyone around.
I think people will be mad at us if we.
Well, once again, there are things that can be done.
Yeah.
Once again, and I think that all these things that are being brought up, they're very good points. Really, it's the fire station is the heart of this matter. Really depends what we're gonna do with this fire station, because you can't narrow lanes to a point if you can't get fire trucks around the intersections. So if the fire station is staying in the same location, you do have to be able to get them through that intersection in a safe manner and get people, the whole purpose of this is to bring people to the center and to make it safe. So if we're gonna have a fire station that's gonna remain in the same position, having people getting across the street and, you know, getting the trucks out safely is a whole matter that we have to bring up. But, you know, in theory, it's a great idea. I know the state did just update the signals out here. They put in flashing yellow arrows out here. So there is some work that's going on. I know there is a design that's going on for Route 38, and they're waiting for the town to send over their final submittal, so they'll incorporate their plans and then have some conversations with that. So on a whole, I think it can work. I think it's something that we can do. I'd love to see some bicycle accommodations out there. I'd like to see some more sidewalks out there to get people up and down the roadway. So I applaud you for your work, and I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Mr. Johnson?
Just a couple questions. Some of them have already been asked, so I won't be repetitive, but can you estimate or just kind of describe the number of hours that you think your committee has put into this project thus far?
I can't vouch for everybody's personal time. I know we've met fairly regularly once or twice a month for the better part of 2 years. And I'd say there's probably been at least an hour of homework in between some of those meetings. When we were reviewing the RFPs, that was probably a little more homework intensive. So, I mean, hard to say. I'd say maybe 100 hours per committee member.
And remind me how many committee members there are? Is it 5 or 6?
We have seven. Seven, that's right.
Yep, thank you. Thank you. I'm looking left. I should be looking right. So first I want to commend all of the members. I know some of you are here tonight for that, because often these projects go unnoticed, but